First and foremost, just like to make everybody aware that during the meeting, there will be audio and recording devices present. So, Heidelberg Township Water Board Committee meeting for February on the order. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. Going once. Going twice. Okay. Next order of business. Approval of January 29th meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
I did.
Anybody have any changes or amendments to the minutes? Good. Make a motion we approve January 29th, 2025 water board minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anthony's not here, is he?
What's that? It doesn't keep you on here?
Oh, it just says engineer.
Probably nothing else down.
Very good. Moving along to my agenda items. First is acknowledge the receipt of the letter from Paul King. I assume everyone has had a chance to see their letter and see what all it says. And if not, I believe there's
Should be in the packet.
another copy in our packet. Just want to basically go over this and acknowledge that, you know, everything that he has on here, we are aware of and do plan to address. So, anybody have any comments about that? Any of those items on there?
Well, in regard to the land requirements, depends where the well is. I mean, it looks like there's a well section that's on owned land, and then there's another that's way off it. What I would like to see is the driller's report on those two wells to see if there's any chance the well on the property comes up dry. But I don't know where that report is, so.
I just sent you, or what's in there is the locations.
I saw the location.
That's all that I was sent.
Huh.
But we can ask, did he say he had anything?
No, he didn't. I know Rikers did it.
Records.
Yeah, because when he was on my property, I asked him for the report, and he said he really had to send it to the township.
Did he give you a report? I could start looking, do you know when that might have happened?
No clue.
We'll go through some boxes, see what we can find.
Anything else? Ms. Altman?
Good.
Good. Next thing I had was at the last supervisors meeting, Supervisor King, when they talked about redoing the ordinance for the term of our water board, he added in there, making our board a 5-member board instead of a 3-member board. So I wanted to discuss it with the rest of the board. I would like to continue as a 3-person board and appoint an alternate.
Pretty much my thinking.
Okay.
I agree. I think 5 people can muddy the waters a little bit and make a lot more conversation than needs to be.
Okay. He had in there that he wanted to make Mr. Lucas and Mr. Longstreth the 4th and the 5th. So, we still do need an alternate. I would assume that the Board of Supervisors would probably still appoint who they want as an alternate.
Would be my understanding.
So, we as a board shouldn't make a recommendation for an alternate then?
You certainly can make the recommendation, it's up to you guys.
Okay.
It's part of your, cause you're gonna have to make the recommendation that you wanna continue it as a 3-person board, if that's what you're deciding. And if you have a recommendation for an alternate, you can, or you can say that you're leaving it up to them. That's,
Can I ask, do both of you still want to be considered?
And with that, I also wanna make sure that you both know whichever is picked would still like to see you both continue to come and participate and be involved. We're not closing the door, not saying we don't want either one of you here, we're just, would like to continue as we're doing. So, if we don't make a recommendation for an alternate, would that kick it back an extra month, or will it really make no difference?
as far as getting an alternate, does it kick it back for another month?
Remaining an
Sure, it would, yeah, but what's your priority, keeping it a 3-person? Is that, because I know Solicitor Schultes was instructed to draw it up,
Correct.
so that's on the agenda, so they'll have to say we're going back to 3-person if that's what you recommend and they agree to. So, you don't have to say that you can.
Okay. Then I'll make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that the Heidelberg Water Board Committee continue as a 3-person board, and the supervisors, can either pick either between Glenn or Jeff, or if they need to submit whatever route they feel they wanna take to choose an alternate. So be it. Second? All in favor? Heather, you had nothing to report for your agenda items?
I said nothing.
Nice and sweet and simple. Alan, let you tear into it.
Okay, I know one of the tasks that we've been assigned is to look at the need for a rate increase for the water rates. We were provided by Katie a 1-page summary of last year's profit and loss for the water district. Frankly, it was a wash. So there was a slight additional amount of money at the end of the year. In previous years, there's been negative amounts. So from where I sit, I don't see a need for a rate increase at this point. But with the new well and the new infrastructure and the extra maintenance, the professional services cost could increase. That's probably, the electric bill is like $1,200 a year, so that's not really too much. The professional services were in the order of $17,000, and that has to do mostly with DEP, and their rules and regulations about who takes the water samples, what the chain of custody is for the water sample. Believe it or not, there's actually a chain of custody sign-off on a water sample, and then it's tested for chloroform bacteria that we pay for at labs. That's another expense. And then the whole thing gets reported, so there's all these professional expenses that basically are a requirement of Pennsylvania DEP, of municipal water districts, so by being municipal, we're stuck with it. My future concern is there are things going on at US EPA that imply, and I know DEP has implemented this on the big water districts, but not the little ones yet. But that has to do with testing for forever chemicals, and the cost of the chloroform test pales in comparison to the cost of the tests that are coming down on us sometime later, I don't know when. And Matt's approach to DEP is that we'll start doing it when they make us. So he's got a pretty conservative approach to that. And he's the one who'll go to jail, we won't, so that's fine. So that's my stand on the possibility rate increase. I'd say not yet. You looked at that cost report, Travis?
I didn't, I was just trying to see if I could find it to look at it again.
Okay, it's right in the body of her letter. You can't really separate it from the
I
letter.
found the lab thing.
Yeah, there's
We didn't give you 24's rates yet, cause the audit's not finished, when 23 was the last numbers you got.
I really didn't pay attention to what it was. I just,
The 24 audit is, they're finishing it now, so I don't think she would have had 24's numbers.
well, that's a good
like
reason
that.
just to sit on the rate and see what happens.
We can raise that at any time, right?
Well, we can suggest, I suppose.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but it's not like, we don't have to do it at the beginning of the year. I mean, if we start getting through the year and
Was
see.
it in January's packet that we gave you? all
Yeah,
the
there was a
breakdowns?
packet, but there was a cover letter, and that's where she put what she got out of
I don't
QuickBooks.
know if you kept your January stuff, you can find it.
I have too much stuff.
It looked like a spreadsheet.
Now, this was more a table in Word.
Okay. And I'm not saying you're wrong, I don't remember what the numbers were, but I'm pretty sure we don't have 24's in yet, so I don't think she would have given you that.
Whatever year it was, the rates were right for. And a question I had about that, I know there's a lot of, legal fees that go along with,
sorry, what?
legal fees with the solicitor. When he rewrites, what we're talking about with the details, and he charges their hourly rate, whatever that is, ungodly number, I'm sure. Does that go against the water company as
It
well?
hasn't yet, but we just started a water company account so that it's easier to see the money that comes in and the money that goes out.
So it could possibly be allocated. So every time we have to change the stupid number of people on the water and all that, it costs the water company.
Again, it doesn't mean this year that they'll put it against that. So, yeah,
Once we get I mean, it was initially only supposed to be 1 year, so I think they're just, we went a couple months there with big meets within their business, so 1 year went by pretty fast and they got everything done, so that was the main decision.
I guess the residents are all right with no increase,
Yep.
unless you expected a reduction.
Yeah. Wouldn't object.
Nothing's getting cheaper. Okay, I don't think we need
I
that.
have a question. What do the testing for the forever chemicals, what does that look like?
From 10,000 feet, our lab can't do it. It requires, from what I understand, taking all the water out of the sample and using mass spectrometry to see what's left. And I think Lancaster Labs is the closest place that could actually do that. So it's not like there's a lot of competition for the work either.
So is it once a month, once a week, every day? How does that?
At this point,
Once
we
a
have
year?
no idea.
Huh.
It's, these things, the regulations are changing. With what's going on in Washington, the EPA may no longer exist, I don't know.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Move on.
if you're good.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good.
Excuse me, I have a question also.
Go ahead, Jim.
In this, whatever it was from Paul, a couple weeks ago, it was not the most recent one, but it was one a while ago. He indicated it was a 2023 deficit, for the water company in 2023 of $6,000-ish. Is that the same number that you came up with?
Well, the report I was looking at, the overpayment was in the order of $7,000. So if that is 2024, that washed out the underpayment of 2023. I can just see what I've been saying.
Yeah, and I'm trying to understand, what you're saying is that analysis means that we're flat, to 2023. I said that poorly, let me say it in a different way. This thing that we got from Paul a while ago said the deficit of 2023 was $6,000. Your comment was that your analysis of 2023, assuming it's 2023 data, because 2024 has not yet been audited, says that OpEx cost to OpEx expenditures, or to revenue is flat, or a wash.
From what I saw, yeah, I didn't do any accounting moves on this, I just got a single page summary.
Yeah,
I don't think you got 24 numbers yet,
No.
because that's our only real numbers.
Yeah, she said, it's put this in the body of the letter when she transferred the packages.
Okay. So there's been a couple years where it's been in deficit though. Right?
Yeah, and I think the deficits are all like legal expenses and professional services that aren't related to the day-to-day. And just talking about OpEx, it's operational expenses, so.
and this number has no backup, it's just a number on a page that says deficit. It doesn't say whether it's OpEx or CapEx or what it is,
His number?
his number.
I have no idea where he got his.
Maybe we do.
Yeah, I don't know,
I'm not on camera, so.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this number came from, I'm just saying that it was different than what I just heard. But if you're just doing an OpEx expense comparison, and this is OpEx and CapEx,
Well, even if
move on.
it's operational, it's about the same as the one I looked at.
Yeah.
So, the possibility of a rate increase doesn't have any support from the numbers.
Agreed.
At this point. There is a page that came with the minutes that shows the possible, well locations. One of them is on township property, one is not. And I just wanted to see the well driller's report on the two holes in the ground to see what the likelihood was of finding water in both, or one more than another. Because, from what the engineer said in the last meeting, the footprint of the equipment, mainly the steel tank, is, what he said was a 17 square foot pad, a 17 by 17 pad. And on 1 acre of ground, it's pretty easy to fit something 17 by 17. So, well, I guess that, the township's gonna try to talk to Reefer to find out what they reported.
Let me see if I can find something, sure.
Okay. That pretty much closes that out. We got the water quality reports, and there was a whole bunch of paper not saying a whole lot. And basically what it showed is that, there's only one thing they test for. It's the least expensive test on their inventory of testing. And they did have a caveat on their cover letter that said to the effect that there are some looming DEP regulations about PCBs, I'm sorry, polychlorinated biphenyls, that may come in the future, but that testing goes from like $20 to $200. So it's, some of the regulations coming down might cause us to take a look at the rates. I don't think we have a read on the expected operating cost and maintenance cost on the engineer's proposal at this point, so we can't really address that. I do think that, and since the way Conway Contractors is somewhat represented here, I basically saw the results of a ground level storage tank down in Texas that ruptured. And there was a house there for the guard slash maintenance slash lawnmower guy, whatever. And he and his wife ended up in the street out front from the bedroom because of this thing. And I go by Lakeview and I see in my mind's eye a 50 or 60 foot metal tank in the air. And then everybody, I'll use the word downstream of that, kind of concerns me a little bit. And I've seen an awful lot lately done in reinforced concrete. And I wondered how that, where are we, like 75,000 gallons at this point? 80,000? I just wondered if a partially underground concrete vault would serve the same purpose. And it wouldn't need the maintenance of a steel tower, because a steel tower is, and I'll use the analogy like your hot water heater, in that it's made out of steel, it's coated inside, it has cathodic protection. Once the anode in your hot water heater dissolves, it takes about 10 years to dissolve it, then cathodically, one little defect in the coating inside that tank is gonna make a hole through the tank. Consequently, when you're maintaining water tanks, you have to drain them out, put somebody inside, make sure there's no corrosion going on. And if the tank is made out of concrete, it ain't gonna happen. So I wanna get an opportunity to talk to the engineer, and I don't know whether I'm crazy, but, does anyone know, I'll put it this way, does anyone know what the cost per cubic yard of reinforced concrete is these days?
That initial cost down on this side, because what I heard was 17-foot diameter, 47-foot high tank. The initial cost for concrete would be so much higher. I'd love to know what you're describing there, what happened, because I don't know that I ever heard of a catastrophic failure of a steel tank like that. Typically, steel tanks show their issue long before it's a major issue, so you have plenty of opportunity to.
It was Tarrant Regional Water Authority in Texas.
Okay, yeah, that's, I don't
And
know what
it
this-
failed shortly after construction, so there was a construction error somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds like what that would be. That's very unusual. And then 80,000 gallons, you know, even if you had a more normal leak, that's just,
Well, I really didn't think in terms of it being 80,000 gallons this way. I'm thinking about being 80,000 gallons kind of right at ground level and excavated enough to fit that many cubic feet.
you mean for a concrete tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you that would be a lot more expensive.
Well, you just have to put a pump in to maintain the pressure, because it wouldn't be gravity down to Longview development.
I think in the anything under 100,000 gallon range, you're almost always going to see a steel tank. That's where the economy is. And I think if you could do some research, but I think you're going to find that the failures, there must have been a construction flaw there of some kind for that to happen. Now, a lot of the larger tanks are placed on concrete ring walls, but
Oh, for
to go-
petrochemicals and things that have to be retained.
yeah, to go to a concrete storage tank, you could have Davidson look at it, but I think you're gonna find it's gonna be a lot more expensive. And I think the maintenance costs would actually be higher on that.
What would you have to maintain on concrete?
Well, you're gonna have the concrete's gonna slowly deteriorate, crack, you're gonna have to patch cracks. It's just normal.
I'd be curious, for you guys to ask, Jackson Township has an aqua store. Shrewsbury has 3, Stewartstown has 2,
Springer Borough does too, ain't
yeah, they have one up, one for Lehman.
That's
Just,
enough.
I don't know, you ask questions if, what their maintenance cost is with them structures or not,
it? Yeah. Where's Jackson's at?
up behind the elementary school.
Oh,
Up in
yeah,
Botchka
there,
Heights.
Botchka.
So I don't know if that's Jackson School, how that works there, but I think it was put in when the schools expanded.
And I'd be interested to hear from Davidson, and this is all early, you know, we'll have a chance to talk about this later, but the 2 40,000 gallon tanks would make more sense than 1 80,000 gallon tank. And, you know, you can, that way you can
One has
shut
to
one
go
down
down.
in order to maintain the other. The
Right, that's a good point.
Redundancy is always good. But they're, I think, I'm pretty certain that they're all now epoxy coated. You can access the inside. You know, here again, you could take one tank down to do inspections while you're still operable.
Well, what does the Borough in Jackson do for stuff like that? I wonder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they have a blue glass line tank at their sewer plant for sewage water as well.
I'm pretty sure most of the York Water Company tanks are steel.
That's already stainless.
Really? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, it's just that I've seen corrosion failures and, you know, the only place in, perfection as possible is not on this earth. And coatings can be slightly imperfect, and the problem is, as you probably well know, that the smaller the defect in the coating, the bigger the problem. Because that means the anode has gotten really, really small. It's hard to pick that kind of thing out. Well, good point, we'll have to talk to the engineer about it. The only thing I had left was a question about do we need more land, and that kind of goes back to which well location we might choose to build. So, that's all I had.
I think the 1 acre is probably big enough for the system, and any other well location would be, I would think, a simple easement for, you know, I don't think we need any more land other than possibly some land around it, you know what I mean? I
Well,
don't think we're
there's-
gonna have to buy acres or anything.
The farmer fields it,
What's that?
the farmer fields it, grows crops on it,
What?
Not on the well property.
not on the well property, but on the adjacent property.
Yep.
And so they probably wouldn't appreciate us in the middle of growing season digging.
Yeah, I think a public well is 300-foot diameter away from, like, manure spreading and stuff like that. It's gonna change some things for them there.
I mean, I guess it would just depend on where they come out and say.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a no-brainer, then we choose to drill on our own property and the cost is nothing. Okay, boss.
You good?
Hey Travis,
Yes, sir.
sorry, I'm just curious, just ask Glenn, what's the distribution piping, do we know, is that part of this too, is it copper, is it
Asbestos cement.
asbestos cement? What year is that?
What year was this put in?
50 sometime, I think.
Oh, is it good that far back?
Late fifties or early sixties.
Asbestos cement, oh, boy.
It's probably close to like transite.
Did you wanna come over and have some water at that?
You're making me nervous.
You keep saying it.
I
With
would've
more and more
offered that
question in his
time.
voice.
But
I think 4-inch main, somebody had some drawing.
6, there's a piece of it up there at the well.
Is that what it is, 6 inch?
Yeah, there's a piece laying on the well house, if you
Piece-
drive up and see it.
A piece laying on the wellhead,
Yep.
6-inch asbestos cement. When we did our field trip.
I assume that's not something they use anymore?
Almost a ductile or plastic.
is replacement of that part of Davidson's design? No?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I think they're replacing the curb stops and curb boxes, aren't they?
That was, I don't know if that was in any of that. I mean, it could maybe
I
be,
think next month you bring water. for
Somewhere I
everybody.
heard,
we
That's
talked
right.
about it,
You
I
can
don't know if that's in
Aaron
any of the
Brockovich
Wanna
drink?
plans.
It's my understanding that asbestos is a issue for the lungs, not for drinking.
I'm watching her face every time he says
He
it.
just says it with more and more question in his voice, like it more, I don't know, my neighbors are in their nineties, so,
They've lived a long time.
yeah, we found out the key to life in Longview is
That's
the
right,
water.
drinking the water.
Well, we measured the pH just tonight and it was 7.27, which is just above basic, so that's great.
Mhm.
And mine is like 6.2, that's not good. Good.
Alright, old business. Anybody have anything?
Now, we discussed everything on my list.
I'm good.
Alright, new business.
Nope.
I don't have anything. Nothing from Anthony, nothing on grants.
No, we have a resolution that we have to do for the big grant, but we have that handled at the meeting, I still think to do that.
Nothing more on that study.
Not that he's getting anywhere.
Upcoming meeting dates. Next water board meeting will be March 26, 2025 at 5:30 right here. Best part of the night right now. Who wants to do it?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
That was easy.